Hi, everybody. So we're on day 3 of chapter 23 for statistics. So I just wanted to go over, this is going to be a quick video. So happy Friday to you. Um, so this set of slides is just going through what not to say when we're talking about confidence intervals for means. So it's actually very similar to what we did for confidence intervals for proportions. So we have to make sure we say it correctly. And I think all of us are pretty good. But if this was ever an issue, I don't know, maybe in a free response, they might say, is this okay to say? You're going to point out why it's not okay to say. I had to start thinking in terms of what might come up in the free response since there's not going to be any multiple choice. So first of all, 90% of all the vehicles on Trip Hammer Road drive at a speed between 29.5 and 32.5 miles per hour. The 90% certainly is not the percentage of cars that are driving that. So that certainly, it's about the means, not about the individual values. Second thing, what not to say. We are 90% confident that a randomly selected vehicle will have a speed between 29.5 and 32.5 miles per hour. So the issue is that we're talking about the confidence interval, not an individual value. So it's not about a particular random selected vehicle because that's not the case. It's not going to be the case at all. Next page, we have what not to say. The mean speed limit of the vehicles is 31 miles per hour 90% of the time. A mean speed is actually going to be one particular point. It's not going to be it's not going to vary. It won't be different through it. So it's saying the true mean doesn't vary. It's the confidence interval that would be different had we gotten a different sample. What also not to say, 90% of all samples will have a mean speed between 29.5 and 32.5. The interval we calculated does not set a standard for every other interval. It's no more or less likely to be correct than other intervals. Okay, so what are we going to say? Their first suggestion is 90% of vehicles that could be found in this way could cover the true value, but this is what I like to say that you all know that we have to say. I am 90% confident that the true mean is between 29.5 and 32.5 miles per hour. So same thing as we've always been saying. So I like to draw pictures for things. Make sure that you draw a picture if you need to. The way to check the nearly normal condition is with graphs of the data. If they tell us that it's nearly normal, awesome, check it off. It's almost like one of those givens in a geometry proof. Otherwise, you either have to use the data from the calculator and make a histogram. Make sure that it's unimodal and symmetric with no outliers. If it's below 15, if it's between 15 and 40, 30, as you will, then we just want to make sure it's unimodal, and slightly skewed is fine. And they're also suggesting to do a normal probability plot. We haven't talked about that too much. A normal probability plot, and I'll show an example on Monday what that looks like. But the normal probability plot is basically cruising up until you're at 100% of all of your frequencies. So you want that line to be straight. It shouldn't have any curves. If it has curves, it means that there's some sort of or bends, there's skewing, and you certainly don't want to have too much skewing involved. So let's do just the first part of an old question from 2010. So that was 10 years ago. Here's the question. We're just going to do question A, and I would think that we could get full credit, but the caveat is making sure we do what we need to in this problem. So this is a good example of a question that is doing exploring data and also doing means together in one place. So go ahead and read it, and then we'll talk about what to do. You can pause. Okay, so it says describe the sampling distribution of the sample mean lengths of random samples of 40 rock and roll songs. It was, okay, songs. There should be one more word, songs here. Let me write that in case it doesn't make any sense. Period. Okay, so talking about the sampling distribution of the sample mean songs for random sampling, we need to, the distribution of the lengths of rock and roll songs in minutes is roughly symmetric with a mean length of 3.9 minutes and a standard deviation of 1.1. So what we need to do is we need to talk about the shape. The center and the spread. That's our cuss. So when we're talking about describe the sampling distribution, that's going to be cuss. Anything unusual, there is nothing unusual. We could mention that as well. They haven't mentioned anything unusual. So the shape is symmetric. Two M's, sorry. Double M, metric. Okay. They didn't say anything, we look, about anything being unimodal. So it's roughly symmetric. So I'm going to leave it at that. The center is at 3.9, but the part that's going to be tricky, and they definitely will take off points for this, is what the standard deviation of our sample will be. And we take our standard deviation and divide it by 40. Okay. And we get our number 1.1 divided by the square root of 40. And we get 0.174. That's our standard deviation. Okay. Also, because the sample is 40, we can use, I would mention something like this, use the normal model, since it's roughly symmetric. Sorry, let me bring this down. Can I bring it down farther? It's roughly symmetric, and 40 is large sample. Okay. So let me just show you what the rubric looked like, so that way we can make sure I have everything set. They needed us to do, mention the mean. They needed us to mention the standard deviation. So scoring, we're just going to talk about A for right now, because the question B was not what we're doing right now. So I just focused on A. Essentially correct if the student correctly provides all three components. We had to mention the shape, approximately normal. Center 3.9, and the spread of 0.174 if they only provide two of the three. So I think my concern would be, I'm not sure what my concern would be. It might be that maybe we don't mention that it's approximately normal. Did I even mention approximately normal? I said you can use the normal model. I believe that this would be totally fine from what I wrote. So that is all I'm going to do for today. You have a great weekend, and make sure to do the homework that was due today, I believe it is. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.